morning, sir. The thing I love about what we do is it's kind of evergreen. People can watch this whenever they're going to watch this. However, today is the morning after the Dodgers pushed us to a game 7, which will be tonight of the World Series against the Toronto Blue Jays. So much going on. I want to start by talking to that. He's Dewey Freeman. I'm Mark Sylvester. We're the Elder Council. I'm a Dodger fan since I was born, because Chavez Ravine, where they play, was built around the time I was born. And I have been going there off and on my whole life. Kimberly's grandma was the biggest Dodger fan. She would have painted her house blue if the homeowners association allowed it. You know, the listeners know my wife was an all-star pitcher in college, went to the College World Series, did all the things NCAA Woman of the Year, as you do. So getting to watch a ball game with her and have it go a pitcher's duel, like 3-1, like we held to 1, to find out after, when we called her dad, who was a coach at Hart High School, where she went to high school, that pitcher was from Hart High School. And the thing that got me to hit the let's talk about this live is mastery. And watching a master, and I want to talk about it across all the various spectrums. What is it about it? It's so deeply intriguing.
Well, one of the things that started us into this conversation was that you mentioned that there was a play, I think it was the 6th or 7th inning, where there was a line drive where the second baseman caught the ball barehanded and threw it to first. And what keeps going through my mind is I have had the privilege in my career to work with a number of world-class / Olympic athletes.
Did not know that.
And even recently, in the last few months, work with dear friend Elia.
Oh, the mountain climber.
Yeah. Who was on Everest soloing. Also last week had the good fortune to talk and work with a woman who's 34, who just ran the 100-mile race in record time. Came in second only because the course wasn't marked correctly, and she ended up taking a wrong turn for a few minutes. But there's something special about people who, one, have the ability to do that, also have put in the time and effort to be able to do that. I'm talking about athletics just because we started talking about baseball. But there's something genetic and instinctual about it.
Gladwell's 10,000 hours, he talks about in The Tipping Point. The 10,000 hours of practice, and you can see the mastery. It's the kid who's played guitar since he got his first guitar when he was 8 and played in his room, and turns into an Eric Clapton kind of person. The thing that hit me while you were saying that, we've talked at length about this. This is kind of an ongoing thread for me, which is what we're witnessing is unconscious competence. Whenever I bring that up, unconscious incompetence, I don't know I'm an idiot. Conscious incompetence, I don't know how to do that. Conscious competence, I'm pretty good at this. And unconscious competence, I guess I'm good at that. Guy reaching up for the ball, that was instinctual. I can't wait to watch a highlight reel of the whole series, because I don't remember the games now, but you know, where the ball comes line drive right back at the pitcher and his mitts, bam. There was multiples of those, being able to react so quickly that I can catch a ball in second or third, get it to the second baseman and first, and get a double play. There were 2 double plays last night. This was a defensive tour de force. And do they have 10,000 hours of practice?
10 times.
And I said to Kimberly, one of the things I learned from her is her ability to focus on a space that's 4 inches by 4 inches, the catcher's glove, that's 60 feet away, and tune out 10,000 people in the crowd. Like she doesn't even know they're there. And I said last night, the people standing behind home plate are jumping up and down screaming. You got the catcher or the pitcher going, like, I don't see any of that. All I see is my target is. And they're such pros. One of the things about a great leader is the ability to focus on the task at hand. And this challenges our ability to do that. Whenever I get distracted, I think about that woman who was watching something. I heard it was 15 seconds, 30 seconds of a talk. Her experience in working with leaders was when they all had this ability to focus on the task at hand. Mastery is focusing on the task. Think about in music, a violinist who there's no music, there's no sheet music. Pianist, there's no sheet music. They play that, it's in their bones and you can feel it. What is it? I know what it is. How do we, a later stage, and after we're in our bedroom being able to do whatever we want to do, how do we get to 10,000? I'd like to master it.
How do we get to that?
I appreciate mastery. Let's put it, I appreciate mastery and I recognize mastery. The people we work with are thought leaders. Every single one of them is a thought leader, and we work with them to build a business around mastery. So, what if you say, I want to master a thing, but 10,000 hours? Do the math. How does that work later in life? Or maybe even if you're 25 or 35, where do you find 10,000 hours?
Where do you find it, or what makes you do it?
Yeah, probably what makes you do it. If you were deeply committed, you'd find the hours. It wouldn't matter. You would just do it. How do we know that? How do we feel? What does that feel like yearning to master something? Maybe that's typical. The question takes about 18 minutes for me.
Well, here's what I have seen, and it's actually what I've experienced. Because, and I know part of what you've experienced too, because we both have mastery in different arenas. And I think actually both of us have mastery in more than one thing. As we were speaking before we got on here, when I started recording, I said I've had the opportunity in my professional life to work with very, very high level athletes who, like, nationally ranked, world ranked, have gone to the Olympics or world championships in various sports. The one salient piece I've seen is that what drives them not about winning. To be an Olympic athlete, or do this to impress somebody else. That's the outcome. But it's not the primary driving force. What I've seen as the primary driving force is that there's something about what they're doing that actually soothes and satisfies their soul.
Hmm.
For instance, one of the people I worked with for a couple of decades was the world record holder for the women's trial. Ironman. Talking with her, it wasn't about, oh, I'm going to win and I'm going to set the record and I'm going to do this and be better than all the other women. It was about something that happens in my soul that feels bigger than me. I also worked with a person who won the Iditarod
Hmm.
3 times. It was like, you train your dogs to do blank, blank, blank? Because the Iditarod is the dog sled race. It's also survival.
It's an endurance.
It's endurance, but it's survival too, because, the temperatures can get 20, 30 below zero. You can run into blizzards.
By yourself.
Every person that I've talked to that has really been successful is that there's something inside them that finds a deep satisfaction in what they're doing. It's separate from trying to win.
So I have a question because it feels like that competitive, I want to compete because I need to win or someone needs to lose. And if it's so that someone needs to lose or I need to be seen as better, that is a mitigating factor that would go against it. See how that's coherent or consistent or aligned, right? Just one of the things I'm curious. Let's dig a little bit. So unconscious competence, I'm going to go, how I think my belief is we're 20% conscious and we're 80% subconscious. When we have an intuition or something that doesn't feel right, whatever, that's coming from that part of our body. It's trying to, hey, wait, pay attention right now, danger, danger.
Mm-hmm.
And that was such a civilian way of talking about something that is deeply psychological that I know you understand. So if I'm unconsciously competent, then that competence is coming from that part, right? From that 80%, right? I think so. So is it possible that mastery is you have mastered the ability to get into a flow state where that competence can be fully real?
I
Where your consciousness will step out of the way so your unconscious can do the work. Why is it when you talk to an athlete after the game, they go, I did what? Huh? Improvers. Or they say, oh, I don't remember saying it. Like, yeah, you're amazing. They're just, it's all unconscious. It's all reaction, which to me suggests subconscious competence. How much of that's DNA? How much of it is learned behavior and that you get really good? Sorry, there was so much question in there, but do you understand?
I'm following you. Actually, I'm going to take a slight detour and try to pull this together. This is some newer stuff I've been learning over the last couple of years. There's a researcher, psychiatrist, philosopher, scientist named Ian McGilchrist, who all of his work has been around how the right hemisphere of our brain works and the left hemisphere of our brain works. And what's interesting is that it's like, sounds paradoxical, but it's like our right brain and left brain pay attention in two different ways. While at the same time, because of the corpus callosum that attaches the two parts of our brain, two hemispheres, we're still in a non-dualistic place. There's a difference, but it's not like we're overly far apart. What's interesting from his theory is that dissociation is when the messages aren't flowing back and forth between the two hemispheres. And many people dissociate for safety, because they've gone through trauma or whatever. What you're talking about is the flow state. The flow state happens between the two hemispheres of our brain, while at the same time, each hemisphere is getting to attend to what each hemisphere attends to without being impeded.
Yes. Yes.
And so what's interesting about it is our right hemisphere does not have speech. Our right hemisphere has language. And then our left hemisphere is the, and again, it's not 100% divided that way, but our left hemisphere is the one that turns language into speech and makes our lips move and mouth work. Well, my experience has been, because that flow state is, if we included the rest of our nervous system, which I would think is both our intero and exteroception system and our neuroceptive system, every part of our nervous system, which is our whole body and our brain, and I see our brain as part of our body. All of those systems are in sync.
And that equals flow state.
And that is what equals flow state. And that is what gives us the automatic response, like the person catching the line drive, the person in the Iditarod knowing what to do and exactly how to weight the right rail of their sled, like I've seen people do with horses. And actually, I can get into place, and I go in and out of that with horses. Another example is I just led a help lead. I didn't lead it myself, with a team. There's a question, a retreat. There was a question from one of the members in the retreat. Why is such and such happening with my mother? This was a person in her 30s. And without even thinking about it, I said, what happened in your mother's second or third trimester? And when you were in utero with your mother in her second or third trimester of carrying you. She went, oh my God, and then went on to explain what was going on. And people asked me, Dewey, how did you notice that? And I said, I don't know. I just, when that happens, every part of our nervous system is integrated and working together. In any situation, it takes about 10,000 hours to get practiced enough to let.
So
tie some pieces together here.
I have been, for the last 3 months, feeling very much like I'm in a flow state. It's mostly my brain, but it's also my body, because I literally feel myself. I'm doing something I've never done before. I'm programming. I'm working with AI. So I'm stimulated on all the levels, but it's not athletic. So I guess my body is just, I don't feel tired. 1 a.m, Kimberly is like, dude, it's, and she's reading scripts or watching videos that she's got to comment on. Her business is blowing up. So she loves doing it. She's in her studio and she'll text. She says, okay, it's time. And we have to pull, and it's not workaholic. It's not that at all. You get so deep and it's so stimulating on all of those levels. And there's all these little reinforcements of, oh yeah, I asked it to do a thing. It did a thing. Oh, look at that. That was the right thing to ask. Point. It was the right question to ask. How did you know how to do it? I don't know. The last 3 months with what's called vibe coding, I'm coding with an AI. And I've sat with coders my whole life in the same room. It's like I know the questions to ask, but I didn't know I knew the questions to ask until this last 3 months, when I'm like, well,
right.
What if we were able to do this? What if I'm talking to a coder, like saying, well, what if we did that? And what about that? I think we've got to the nub of it. A master knows which questions to ask.
A master knows which questions to ask with their whole being. not just with their brain. Because I know you well enough. You're incredibly accomplished with computers and tech. That doesn't just come from your brain. It comes from your whole being.
On that note, Doc, just so the audience knows, we literally never know what we're going to talk about. I think that's kind of the mastery of it, right? Hit the go light, we're on. Thank you so much. I love you.
Thank you. I love you too.